It's no surprise that affordable housing has been increasingly difficult to come by. In fact, if you are working a minimum wage job, there is literally nowhere in the country where you can rent a 2-bedroom apartment with that wage. That was based on a study by the Federal Reserve. This is a serious issue that many Americans are facing right now. And so, of course, some entrepreneurs out there thought maybe this is a good opportunity to make some money off people who can't afford their rent. And so now these startups are popping up that give people loans in order to basically pay their rent, which is absolutely insane. They're specifically focusing on college students. And I just want to note before we go to this video that the heart of this issue is the fact that we have unaffordable housing. Now, are there gonna be people who are going to prey off of that system and make money for themselves? Of course. But again, the big issue here is affordable housing and the unwillingness by our lawmakers to really do anything about it. With that said, let's hear from Tony Diamond. He is the founder of Stay Tony, one of these companies that gives out loans so people can afford their rent. Take a look.
Stay Tony is a corporate apartment provider. So the majority of our guests will stay with us from 1 to 3 months. And so, the writing has been on the wall that affordability is an issue. So we wanted to come up with an innovative way to address that. And so we had the idea of allowing our guests to finance that 1 to 3 months of rent. So, for example, instead of having to come up with, let's just say you're relocating to Los Angeles, instead of having to come up with, let's say 1 month's rent of $3,000, you can now pay that over time. So for example, we have an interest-free program where you can pay 1 month over 3 months, so $1,000 a month for 3 months, or you can break that $3,000 into paying it over 6 months at $500 a month. And what's very exciting is one of our programs is interest-free.
Just one of the programs, right? So at the end of the day, you're still having to pay that allotted amount that you would have had to pay regardless. It's just in installments.
That's correct.
I think a lot of people, especially people just out of college, right, that don't have, in some cases, if you want to move to New York City, $15,000 saved up to make all of that work.
Okay, so he mentioned the interest-free program twice in that interview, and it made it seem like, oh yeah, they're just gonna give me money for for no interest, and I'll be able to pay. No, that's not how it works. So of course, the interest-free program that he's talking about is a very, very temporary, short-term thing. It's about 6 months. I looked at their website. I don't know if everyone qualifies for that interest-free loan. Besides which, no one should be financing rent. Like, you shouldn't take out a mortgage to be able to afford your rent. That's absurd.
You hear the numbers they're tossing around. So if you need $3,000 for your 1 month of rent, and then you may need $15,000 for your move. They went through moving expenses, relocation fees, temporary stays, all that stuff that comes into moving across country to get a job that pays you $7.50 an hour.
And move into a bed bug infested apartment with 3 other people.
And then, so they provide these beautiful locations and beautiful ways for you to get your way out. And all you gotta do is pay $1,000 a month. Did they forget there's these other things called expenses that you're also paying? So then they didn't figure it. I'm not saying that's what they're presenting in a way that, oh man, like you get $3,000 broken up into $1,000 at a time. What a gift.
And look, I don't want to misdirect my anger, right? Because again, the big issue here is we have this giant group of lawmakers, it's called Congress, that refuse to do anything about a very real problem that we're facing right now. Americans are not making enough. Housing prices are through the roof. Education is through the roof. So these companies are specifically targeting college students, recent college grads who have like astronomical student loan debt, and because they have astronomical student loan debt and because wages are so low, they're unable to afford rent. And so these companies are like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and loan them money, and don't worry, we're not as bad as payday lenders. We don't charge 700% interest, but we do charge around 20%. No, that is not a solution to this issue.
Well, I mean, listen, if millennials stop spending so much money on avocado toast, Do I have a job at Fox? Who's hiring? Listen, capitalism, file this all under like late stage capitalism. This is late stage capitalism to the T. This is perfect example of how Right now, capitalists are just feeding off the carcass of capitalism.
Yeah.
And then there are flies that feed off the vultures of capitalism. And then there are maggots, which are baby flies, that feed off of the flies, that feed off of the vultures, that are feeding off the carcass of capitalism. And the carcass really is America, right? Like, I'm from San Francisco. Like, this is a place where instead of rebuilding public transportation and infrastructure, we are the testing ground for driverless cars. We are the testing ground for Uber and Lyft and all the other things, right? It's like, why actually invest in the public sector when there are a bunch of 29-year-old millionaires or, who want to jack up the prices on everyone?
Yeah, and I want to also just note that there's everything in our economy right now is a house of cards. And while Trump incessantly argues that the economy is doing really well, again, the reality is for the average American, things are not going well. I'm gonna give you some numbers about consumer debt. So outstanding consumer credit, which does not include mortgage loans, exceeded $4 trillion for the first time in 2018. So more people are taking out more debt simply to live, simply to get the bare necessities, whether it's medical care, whether it's education, whether it's housing. Just take out loans, be indebted for the rest of your life. But again, it's a house of cards, and at some point, that house of cards will crumble. Because if wages remain stagnant, if inflation continues to go through the roof, and if our lawmakers refuse to do anything about the cost of living and how ridiculously expensive it is, well then eventually people are gonna default on their loans.
Yeah, and I think that, listen, rent control was defeated pretty resoundingly here in California. And I think that it's a moment for all of us to be speaking with the people we know who are homeowners or who are lucky enough to have a home, and to really organize and to say, hey, actually, when we protect renters, we protect everyone, and we protect the value of everyone's property and everyone's home. And when you're not gouging renters, actually you're creating stronger communities. Teachers don't have to move out of their own communities where they teach, right? So I think that we have a lot of work to do. I do think we're gonna pass rent control, hopefully here in California and then throughout the country, in places like New York where it's desperately needed, and big cities like that. But it's slow going, and it's hard to convince people that actually well, capitalism do what it do. No, it doesn't. This is actually not capitalism. This is not actually free markets.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.